Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode here on Beyond Behavior. My name is Kristan Weisdack, and I am the CEO and founder of BehaviorWorx of Southwestern PA. And I have another incredible guest on with me today. His name is Joel Holc, and he is a Pittsburgh native. He lives in Erie now, but he's one of the Yinzers. And he and I met, it's been about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we've had a chance to talk about some of the work that he's doing in the world for those with disabilities. And he shared some of his own unique story with me. And the book that he has created and really, I think is going to have a tremendous impact on people that are struggling with some of the things that he had going on as well, called The Eggshell Effect, My Journey from Fear. So Joel, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the work that you're doing.
Sure, great, Kristan, thank you very much. So just to make sure this is not the Inzer accent what you got to hear today. I actually, as you say, I've been in Pittsburgh for almost 30 years. So for most of my adult life, I've been in Pittsburgh. My kids born in Pittsburgh, so they are born and raised in Pittsburgh. And yeah, I love Pittsburgh. It's a great city, great people, really, just good people. I've been traveling throughout the country, throughout the world, and every time I come back home to Pittsburgh, the people are so nice. So I just want to make sure that if people never been in Pittsburgh before will hear my accent, they will say everybody speak like this in Pittsburgh.
No, you have lived there long enough that we're claiming you, Joel. Nobody else gets to claim you. You do great work. You're a Yinzer for life. So
yeah, I'm a Yinzer for life. Yeah, but I grew up in Israel, so this is where the accent is from. And yes, so I love to talk about the book, and first of all, I want to acknowledge you for what the work that you do and the work that the organization that you do. And when we met in some networking group, and I immediately said, we need to speak, and we got connected. And as soon that we had our first conversation, say we speak in the same language, and it's such the work that you do and the commitment that you have to make a difference in people's life, in families' life, in kids' life. This is. And it's an admiring. So just keep doing what you're doing. The world needs more people like you.
Thank you. Likewise. I think people need more of what you're doing too. So tell us about that. How did you get into the work you're in now, Joel?
So what I do now, I am an energy awareness coach. This is what I do. And people often ask, what does it mean, energy awareness coach? Which energy you're talking about? And we are energy. Everything that we do is energy. Everything is energetically connected. And most people don't even aware. I was not aware of that for most of my life. For 45 years of my life, I didn't relate to myself as an energy. I relate to myself as a completely different thing. It's like it's goals and what I accomplish and what I don't accomplish, what I have, what I don't have, how society judging me, how I judge myself. So it's all coming from a completely different perspective of energy. And really how I got into this work, and this is what the book is about. So everything that I'm sharing with you, it will be a personal stuff, but it's already out there because it is in the book for the world to know. In the end of 2009, I was really, I was sick. I was barely able to walk. I was barely, would be weeks that I will lay in bed. Eventually, after probably over a year of going to doctors, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And my doctor at the time said, Joel, the best that we can do is to slow down the disease, and if we're lucky, we will slow down for at least 10 years, but eventually you have to live in a wheelchair. So this is the future that I lived into, eventually to be in a wheelchair. And this is definitely not an exciting place to live. This is not at the time my kids were still very young. And I figured, okay, within 10 years, my younger son will be out of high school. So it's not going to be an easy life for him, but at least he will be legally adult, and if I can't function, they will have to figure out a way to take care of themselves. And for about a year, I actually believed the doctor. And quite honestly, my health got worsened in this year. That in my mind, that I actually believed the doctor that I will end up in wheelchair. There were conversation in my head. So why should we wait 10 years? Like let's just bring it on. Let's start now. And then I had a conversation in my head. No, I don't want to live in a wheelchair. I don't want that. Eventually, after a year, I got connected with some amazing people and start understanding that I have a lot what to say about my health. Just because one person with a suit and tie and white jacket on top of his suit telling me something, it does not mean that this is the truth. This is one man's opinion about another man's condition. That's it. And I took control of my future, and I start actually building a team of people that support me to heal myself. And the first person, it actually was a nutritionist that Dr. Conan Shah, that changed my life. And I started working with him, and he immediately, when we met, he immediately said, Joel, this is the metals level in your body are probably in a very, very high level. This is why your body does not know what to do. And this is a carry to be like an autoimmune disease. And it was 100% right. We did multiple tests, and when we sat and after all the tests came together, and my toxic level of my metals in my body were my metals level in my body were toxic. So I said, this is not surprised that your body behave like that. We immediately changed the diet. We immediately start using supplements to clear up my body from the metals, to clear up, to give the nutrition to my body to what I need. So this was a lot about the doing part of what I did to heal myself.
One question I have for you, Joel, what made you seek out another opinion? What made you look towards other people to start helping you?
So this is a great question. So at the time, and at the time, when I was walking with the cane. But mentally, I was already, in many ways, I was surrender already. I surrendered. This is my future. But I would every now and then I say, okay, I want something else. I want more. I'm not okay with living like this for the rest of my life. And I was introduced to a lady that she became my massage therapist. Eventually, we create some relationship. Eventually, we were actually able. We end up getting married, and so she's the one that say, hey, go meet Dr. Shah. And she opened the door to Dr. Shah, and so there was a drive in me that I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. At the time, I was a single parent for my first marriage, my two kids. I was responsible for them. I was the provider for them, and when I saw Dr. Shah, this is what really I did. That I just changed everything. I changed what I eat. I changed what I drink. I put supplements in my body that were not there before. It really changed my life, and my life really changed very quickly. I would say that within 3 months, I started feeling so much better, and eventually I got off the medications that I was on a tremendous amount of medications. And it took me about a year after I worked with Dr. Shah. And I went to my conventional doctor and I say, thank you very much. I appreciate all your support. And I will not use your services no more. And he wished me the best. And he saw me better at that point. I was better. And with his all the knowledge that he had, he only could lead me that as far that he knew. And I'm not talking bad about him. He did the best that he could with the knowledge, the fact that he told me, hey, you will be in a wheelchair in 10 years. If I would follow his plan, he was probably right. And he should tell me that to make sure that I will be prepared. Because if this was true, I will probably be mad at him. Why didn't you tell me 10 years ago I could have the right house, I could have the right car, right? Like there's a lot of things that need to be planned if somebody ending up in a wheelchair. But this was his only way for him to see me, to make it that far. When I met Dr. Shah, there's a big difference between healing people and keep people sick. And my commitment with Dr. Shah is to heal myself. And he told me, Joel, I will not be able to reverse your condition. But if we are working together, we'll be able to stop the direction of where your body go. And I said, you don't know me. I'm stubborn, and I said, I will be back. I will let the cane go. I will be walking again. I will probably. I think that took a few years later. I actually ran 10K. I ran the turkey run in Thanksgiving. So it really improved my life from that point. But there was one thing that was missing, because we're talking a lot about the doing, what to do, what they did, what they didn't do, but why my body got into this place in the first place. And it took a few years after that for me to understand that. In the spring of 2013, actually in 2 days from now, 9 years ago, my mom passed away. And she lived in Israel, and I was there for the week before she passed away. I was blessed to be with her as she spoke her last words, as she took the last breath on this earth. I was blessed to be with her and see her passing. So I was in Israel for a week before she passed away. I was in Israel for a week after. And when I came back home, my wife at the time say, I'm leaving. So within a week time, I lost my mom and I lost my wife, but I love them both dearly. Wanting to die, it's an understatement. And I did not want to kill myself. I would be okay to die, but I did not want to kill myself. And I stopped eating, I stopped sleeping. My life was completely mess. And eventually I asked myself the most important question in my life. And I asked myself, how did I get here? What happened? How did I end up in Pittsburgh? Like, I never knew Pittsburgh exists. Forget about becoming an Inzer. I did not know that Pittsburgh even exists. Like, I had no clue. And when I grew up in Israel, I had never dreams to live in the United States. And if I knew about the United States, I know New York, Miami, California, it's unlikely for somebody across the world right now to dream one day to live in Pittsburgh. Like it's just, it's just Pittsburgh. For people that don't know how great Pittsburgh is, it's just another city that people don't know about. Running multiple businesses, I did not enjoy any of my businesses. Having 2 marriages falling apart, being a single parent, having an autoimmune disease. Like, how did I get here? What happened? How my life turned out to be like that? And this was the most powerful question that I could ask myself. And for us to understand how we get here, we have to go backwards, correct? If you're driving from point A to point B, you know where you're turning left, you know when you're turning right. It's easy when you're driving, but when we're driving our life is really start going backwards and to understand how I end up here. And this question was the revolution question for myself. Slowly, I was able to go to the last day of first grade. And as I finished first grade, and we finished, it was the last day of school, and the teacher walked around the kids, the classroom, and gave all the kids the report card and the diploma for finishing first grade, and welcome to go to second grade. In my diploma, where it say, welcome to go to second grade, there was a black marker. And say, Joel, you're not going to second grade, you have to do first grade again. And as a 7-year-old, what I understood, that smart kids go into second grade and stupid kids have to do first grade again. Like this was the only logic that I had. Why wouldn't I go with my friends to second grade? And immediately I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was terrified. I was living with a secret. And the reason that I could not go to second grade is that I could not read or write anything. Everything that the kids did in the classroom, I couldn't do any of that. And then I had to do first grade again. And I think they passed me on to second grade after that, not because I was any better, but said, we can't keep him here forever. He eventually have to keep going to school. But this day changed my life. The amount of shame and the fear and being not good enough, immediately being abandoned by my teachers, by my friends, immediately took control over my body, not knowing that this stage will change my life forever. And it took for my life to fall apart until age 45, for being where I was physically, emotionally, spiritually, completely broke, to understand that from that day and on, everything that I have done in my life was a reaction from fear. This is the energy that I source myself from. And as unique that my story is, it's not that unique. We all do this to ourselves. What may be unique about my story is that I have multiple events that happen in my life that not everybody experienced that many. Or what may be unique about my story is that I'm willing to share it. But events like this happen to people in their life every day. And then life getting kidnapped by fear. And from that moment and on, we sourcing ourselves from a reaction of fear. Energetically, we only sourcing ourselves from two places. We're either reacting from fear or either we're choosing from love. That's it. This is what everything that we do.
And I love the story that you were able to track it all the way back to first grade. It's heartbreaking, but you talk about your struggles with dyslexia and autoimmune disorders. And so I think that's why the universe kind of put us together to begin with, because when I think about that, Joel, I think about the struggles that you had in first grade. Like if your teachers would have been able to take the time to see what the underlying causes of your struggles were, you know, because a lot of kids with dyslexia, autism, ADHD have vision issues, and it's not just can you see well, it's ocular motor dysfunction or the eyes working together. But for them to have waited until the end of the year and then passed you through the grades. And I think that's why it's so critical to share your story with people so people can understand what a long-term effect that has on people. You know, if they would have addressed the root cause of that problem and taken time to see it, you know, society has advanced a lot and there's been a lot more research around these things, but your story is what we want to be able to highlight more often, just like yours, for people to understand how commonplace these conversations need to become. That we need more thorough assessments for kids that are struggling in the schools, because behavior or developmental delays or learning struggles can be based in so many basic things, like the eyes not working together, nutrition, allergies, intolerances, sensitivities. And so if people would just take the time and learn how to assess for these things and be more caring, compassion, understanding. So that's our mission. And thank you for helping us be a part of that and sharing your story. So how can people find your book online?
So if I may say something about what you just say, first of all, I'm in completely peace with my teachers. They did the best that they could with what they have. I mean, we're talking about 1973. I mean, in Israel, like this country is a brand new country. They're fighting every day. They're on the brink of extent on a daily basis. I'm in completely peace with what they did. As far as today, there's so much more compassion, there's so much more understanding, there's so much in some areas of the world. There are some areas of the world that it's not available, but you and I blessed to live in this country that there is access to all this information, and kids can get the right support. And with what you do, I know how it feels as a child to be singled out. The impact of learning disability in my life have very little to do with learning. Have a lot what to do with my emotions, with my energy, with my self-esteem about myself, with my self-thoughts. It's not about my learning, because, and I don't even know if we should call it learning disabilities. If anything, it's special abilities of learning, because people with circumstances of like dyslexia, I developed a memory. Eventually, I was able to pass through school, not because I learned how to read and write, is because I create this memory. Until probably middle school or even high school, I was okay, because at that time, at least this is how they taught in Israel, and this is probably how they teach here in the country as well, in the United States as well, is that the teacher will get up and in front of the class and teach the material, and the homework purpose was to make sure that the kids understood the material. So I developed this memory is enough if I heard the teacher say one thing one time, and I would remember what they say. I never could do the homework. I never did the homework, but I understood the material. But as I went to high school, they changed. In high school, the teacher basically giving the work to the kids in school. Okay, go study, go to work. We will talk about it, but most of the work is actually done in the homework. And I could not, I just went to high school just to hang out. But I got completely lost. And eventually, I became an entrepreneur. I own multiple businesses throughout my life. So I did okay in life, but the impact is the emotional part that the impact is. And for my parents, from their point of view, being embarrassed, having not clue what's going on, and keeping everything as a secret, my learning special abilities, my learning special abilities were secret. Like they did not talk about it. They did not say, hey, the kid does not know how to read and write, because they probably were embarrassed. They did not know any better. But it's the emotional impact that I think is way more important to address and have a longer effect to our life than the actually learning, because eventually we'll get out of school. When we finish in school, most of my friends, after they finished the army, they went to the university in Israel, and say, what do you want to go to the university? Absolutely not. I will never put myself in a classroom ever again. I don't want to. I suffered 13 years in a classroom. I will never volunteer, will go to a classroom. But I figured out the ways to live life, and I survive. And I strive in many ways as well. So it's the emotional part. So, and I know you're working with families, and I know that you're working with kids. My invitation for the parents is to be tuned to the emotional impact that what their kids are going through. Don't keep it as a secret. Have conversations about it. Make sure that the kids are comfortable to be who they are, because they are beautiful, amazing people, young people with many, many special abilities, and also unique disabilities that they have to figure out how to manage. But this is not who they are. And sometimes as parents, and myself being a parent, and I'm sure that parents that are dealing with kids with these challenges, this is really consuming. It's consuming time, it's consuming money, it's consuming the parents, but but the kids are so much more than that. And build the self-esteem, and build and be tuned to how they feel as people, not how they continue growing as students. They will be okay. They will be okay. Everything will be okay, as long as they be taking care of the emotion part of that.
The one thing that you said about developing quite an extraordinary memory, one of the things that is one of our guiding principles here is we're going to talk to the children and not about the children, because I think that has a lot to do with the emotional side of things. Because when you do have an excellent memory, which I do as well, I have a photographic memory, you tend to remember the good, but you also remember a lot of the bad things. And so to try to be conscientious of that, even when you're interacting with your own child, and understanding that a lot of this is more than meets the eye, and like you're going back to first grade, you know, and so understanding how so many of the events that happen to us in life affect us for a long, long time. But I think this also brings light to the fact that we need to have more awareness and more understanding of a lot of different disabilities, because I think, or just special abilities, because people are very quick to judge. But I think quick judgment is because people haven't taken the time to understand what could be going on beyond the scope of their own knowledge. And so that's one thing that I would love for people, get more knowledge about what your experiences were going on Amazon, to get the eggshell effect and to understand the things that you've been through, but how they also might be applying to their children. And so, so tell us how we can get the book. How can we get to it?
Actually, you can go to Amazon, you can get it directly, or you can go to joelholc.com, and it will give you a little overlook of my story, that's what I share. You can buy the book directly from there. And you also can, if you want to talk together, if you want to have a conversation, if there's anything that I share today bring any value, I'd be happy to have a conversation with everybody, so they can actually send me a link to my email, and we can get connected. Also, my telephone number is next to my name. So my commitment is to make a difference in the world with my story, with my experience. This book is completely vulnerable. I don't live, as I share with you right now, these people that will die before they share these stories, and because they will be embarrassed. I am completely open and vulnerable, because my commitment is to make a difference in people's life. And if one parent's hearing this call today and picking up the book or picking up something from our conversation, and will shift their relationship with their kids and will treat them from a different point of view, and support them, we accomplished what we were supposed to accomplish here today. And I hope that more than one parent will get the value. But if one parent got the value, we did good today.
Yeah, I agree with that. We're going to make sure that many parents get access to this and can find you, and you know, that you can help share your story to bring more awareness to them, but understanding that they're not alone in this journey, that you have a lot to share based on what you've gone through. And so that's what we're trying to do, just offer different levels of support and encouragement to these families that are facing these challenges with their own children. So thank you so much, Joel, for joining us for this call. And I look forward to staying connected, and everybody that's on this, that's listening to this video, please reach out to Joel. He's an amazing human being. When we have meetings, he has such a calm, amazing energy. So it's just good to schedule a call with him. So thank you so much, Joel. Take care.
Thank you, Kristan. I appreciate you.